Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy Eamon here, back for another awesome video. And today I want to talk about something that actually isn't very awesome at all. I want to explain to you guys why I haven't made a YouTube video in about a week, actually more than a week, and also why I haven't really made a video where I'm standing here talking to the camera in a while. Short story. I haven't been able to. I haven't had the energy or just the mental or emotional capacity to do so, but I want to explain why. So I know that I made a video a while ago. If you haven't seen it, maybe you could go and check it out. Basically, it was just explaining that I suffer from depression, and so I was not on YouTube for a while back then because it had gotten to a point where it was too much for me to handle, and I knew I needed help, and so I was spending all of my time trying to just deal with myself and then also go and find help. And then I thought, okay, that's great. Like, now I have found help, I am getting back to better, and I can start making YouTube videos again. I thought everything was going to go great. The problem is, my depression was bad enough that they thought that they should go ahead and try medicine for me. And I've tried medicine once before for depression. I guess it was actually about 4 years ago that I tried antidepressants for the first time, and I really hated it. I was going to therapy back then. This was back when I lived on the East Coast, and I was going to therapy there. I didn't have insurance there, so I was being able to go to therapy because I qualified for 8 free sessions with a therapist at this particular office that would do that kind of stuff for people who were having money issues. And so, because I had just lost my job at that point, so that was really good for me, but it wasn't going to last. And I started medicine back then, and I started taking Zoloft. And I still have the bottle. To be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure why I kept it. I think, part of the reason why I kept it is because I didn't have anything else with the doctor's name on it, and then also I didn't have any other way to, I didn't have any paperwork or anything from back then. I don't know why I didn't keep it, or if I just never got any, but I figured it would be good to hang on to the bottle in case I ever needed to get in touch with them again. So actually I was taking sertraline, which is generic for Zoloft, and they had me on 50 milligram tablets, which is the minimum dose for depression. Now, if you're taking it for other reasons, there are some different disorders that can be controlled with just 25 milligrams. But for depression, the starting dose and the minimum dose is 50 milligrams. And it was too much for me. I actually started to have hallucinations whenever I was trying to fall asleep or whenever I was waking up. And if you have ever heard of sleep paralysis, or you've ever looked into it or experienced it yourself, it was similar to that, but minus being paralyzed. So I was drifting off to sleep and having these really intense sort of dreams / hallucinations of monsters and ghosts reaching up over me and trying to grab me and drag me to wherever to hurt me. And I wasn't paralyzed, and every time it would happen I would get really shook up and wake up really fast and be terrified and be panicked, and it was terrifying, and it meant that I wasn't really getting any sleep. And so I started breaking the tablets in half and taking just half of the sertraline, or Zoloft, it's generic for, And then I went in to see my therapist, and I was like, I need another appointment with the doctor. I have to get my dosage lowered because this is causing some really crazy side effects, really weird hallucinations and stuff like that. My therapist's jaw dropped. They were like, you're on the lowest dose already. We can't lower it anymore or it won't even be effective. And I was like, oh, okay. At this point, like I said, I was still living on the East Coast, but I knew that I was going to be moving out to Nevada for the first time. And I didn't want to have to deal with medications during that move and everything, and I didn't know how to get medicine here. So instead of trying to switch to a new medicine, I was just like, okay, never mind, like, I just don't want to take any medicine. So I didn't take anything for a long time after that, and I actually never went to therapy again or got any help for my depression again until recently whenever I announced it to you guys. So now that you're up to speed, I decided to go back and try for antidepressants again, especially since they said they thought it would help me. And this time, because Zoloft or sertraline is an SSRI, I did not want to take another SSRI because I was afraid that I would have the same reaction. So I begged my doctor to put me on an SNRI, and the one that I asked for specifically was Cymbalta. Now, what I was prescribed was duloxetine, which is, again, the generic form of Cymbalta. And whenever I was telling my doctor why I wanted to take this, I was asking for this because I have depression, anxiety, and chronic joint and muscle pain. And this one pill actually is prescribed for all of those things separately. And I was like, wow, if I can get one pill that will take care of all of my problems, which honestly, the depression and the anxiety and the pain all intermingle with each other to make everything way, way worse. They just kind of pile up on top of each other. You know, part of depression is not wanting to get up and move, and whenever you're already in pain, it just makes it so much easier to make excuses for why you shouldn't or can't get up and move, and then you end up sitting around, and then you end up more depressed, and you also end up with more pain because you're not moving your body and being active, and you're just deteriorating. This isn't easy to talk about. This is why all of the videos that I've made on depression so far have been just a little like illustrated shorts, I guess, or whatever. So, because I don't want to stand here and talk about this because it's really hard, and I don't want to get emotional on camera because that's embarrassing. Yeah, but I'm doing it anyway, because why not? It's an interesting story, and you guys deserve to know why I haven't been around, so now you know. Anyway, so yeah, so whenever my doctor was prescribing this to me, I told them that, you know, I'm really sensitive to medication, and, you know, more than just the sertraline, that I have had experience with this before of being really sensitive to other medication as well. And so he was telling me that 40 milligrams is like the minimum dose, but they only make the pills in either like 20 or 30 milligram pills as like the two lowest doses. So he was like, so we can start you out on 40 milligrams taking 2 20 milligram pills a day. And but he had been looking it up, and he mentioned the 30 milligram pills, and I was like, no, it's okay, I'm good with 30 milligrams. Like, I am really sensitive to this kind of stuff. Like, 30 milligrams is fine with me. It's not going to be a problem, trust me. Like, I swear, like, just start me on the lowest of the low that you can put me, and we'll work up from there. So that's what he did. He gave me 30 milligrams, And immediately after I started taking them, I started to notice dizziness, which can be a bad sign, but it can also be really a normal side effect. It just depends on how severe the dizziness becomes. And also whether or not the dizziness lasts. Like if you're dizzy for the first week, but it's not really bad, and you're not like dizzy constantly, it just kind of hits you every once in a while and then it goes away, like that's fine. But if you're dizzy all day every day and it never goes away, then that's an issue. And I was pretty much dizzy all day every day, but I didn't want it to not work, so I didn't say anything and I kept taking it. And as I kept taking it, on top of the dizziness, I started to notice confusion. I remember I was talking to someone, and as I was talking to them, I asked them the same question 3 times in a row. And the first time, of course, they just answered me like normal. The second time I asked it, they kind of laughed and joked about it. And then the third time, they were just silent. And that's when I realized I had totally forgotten asking them. And that's when I realized that I was asking them again. And that's when I realized something is really wrong. Really, really wrong. So I decided that I was going to tell my doctor about this as soon as I could. But, it was already pretty late, and I was taking the medicine at night, so I decided to go ahead and take it that night in case it was nothing, in case I was overreacting, in case, it was just because I didn't eat enough, or who knows, whatever, maybe it would go away. Like I said, I really wanted this to work. So I took it that night, and it had been causing some issues with insomnia, but it would also make me drowsy at the same time. So I was not sure if I should take it in the morning or at night, because it didn't seem like it was a good idea to take it at any time of the day. So I just kept taking it at night, hoping that I would eventually just get sleepy enough to sleep through it. And I just started taking it sort of earlier in the night so that it would make me excited like right after I took it, but then the drowsiness would kick in, which is normally what would happen. And so that I was hoping that that's what would happen. I would just be able to go to sleep. But taking it earlier that night gave me more time to actually realize what the medicine was doing to my body and why I was having such a hard time sleeping, or at least one of the issues with it. Because as soon as I took it, I started to notice this tingling sensation in my entire body. And then my muscles started to get really stiff and feel like they were tight. And then my joints started to feel stiff and they started to hurt. And then, it was to the point where I could barely move. I was walking around like an old person in my home because it hurt to move my joints and everything felt so stiff. It was like nothing could move right. And so I was like, ugh, that was kind of scary. And then my muscles sort of started twitching a little and having these tiny little spasms. And then as that progressed, it didn't just mellow out and stop. It got worse and worse and worse, to the point where I was trying to sleep that night and I was not able to go to sleep because my muscles were jerking and spasming the whole time. And that's when I realized that the night before, I had woke up with my leg jerking around, and I thought that it was just kind of I don't know, I had laid the wrong way, pinched a nerve, my cat maybe ran over me, or maybe it was a bad dream, whatever. I didn't know why my leg had jerked. I just didn't really think anything of it, went back to sleep. And this night I started to realize it was the medicine causing these spasms, and it started to really scare me, but I didn't want to freak myself out. And I also didn't have the extra money to go to the hospital or anything like that. I guess I could have, but there was still part of me that was no, this isn't as big of a deal as you're making it. And now looking back on it, I feel like that was really stupid. But again, the medicine was also like messing with my brain and causing me to be really confused and also really happy. It was at this night that I started to feel like this ridiculous like elation. I was just really happy, and the next day I finally, I was like, I have to call my doctor. So I called my doctor. I told him what was going on. He flipped out. He was like, stop taking it immediately. And there was part of me that, even though it had made me hurt that way, and it was obviously doing really awful things to my body that it shouldn't have been doing, I didn't want to stop taking it, because if you know anything about manic depression, or bipolar disorder, there's depression, and then on the opposite end of the scale, there's mania. And this medicine was causing me to like feel the effects of mania. I was so happy for no reason. I couldn't stop smiling. I couldn't stop laughing. I was just so happy. I was like just really excited. And the next day, my whole body ached because of being so stiff and spasming all night long. But even though it ached, I felt like I had the energy to run a marathon. Like, I felt amazing. I did not want to stop taking this medicine, even though it was obviously causing problems, because it made me feel so ridiculously good. Which is why, like, I didn't go to the hospital, because I was like, no, it's fine. Everything's fine. Nothing's wrong. Like, it was crazy the way that it was making me, like, just so happy for no reason. Which, it felt good, but that's kind of a bad thing. Like, you're not supposed to be that ridiculously happy, because just like in that situation, it can give you false hope and false confidence and make you feel like nothing can hurt you, and make you feel like you're just on top of the world, and that you don't react to things the way that you should. You don't take necessary precautions about things. So I don't really want to get into a whole discussion of what mania is, especially because I don't have manic depression. So if you want to know more about that, like, go do research on your own. I'm kind of telling you a lot of how it affected me, and not necessarily how it affects everybody, but that was definitely for me a manic episode. And anyway, so after he told me that I wasn't supposed to take it anymore, I was like, okay, well, now that I'm not taking it, and now that there's no chance of me like freaking myself out and thinking that I'm gonna die, because obviously, like, I didn't die last night, I'm fine. I want to know what was happening. So I went online and I started looking through to see what all of my side effects meant, like what was happening to me. I was basically having an overdose. Again, I told my doctor to prescribe me 10 milligrams less than the minimum dose that you even start out on for depression for this medicine. And I was experiencing all of the classic symptoms of an overdose. So I go in, have the consultation with my doctor. He says, oh, okay, I know exactly what's happening to you. I've only ever seen this happen to 3 people in my entire career, but I know what's happening to you. You have a hypersensitive nervous system. And which makes total sense to me. I actually want to make a video about hypersensitivity, because I actually found information about it before online while I was looking through stuff about depression, and it seemed to fit me perfectly. But now I actually have like words from a doctor's mouth saying you are hypersensitive, like that's what's wrong with you. So I was like, okay, cool, that makes total sense with me. I totally understand this. So specifically in this case though, the reason why these medicines are affecting me is because I have a hypersensitive nervous system. So I was like, okay, well then what can I do? Like, what medicines could I possibly take that wouldn't cause me harm. And so he prescribed me another medicine that was similar to Cymbalta, but slightly different, that he thought would work well. So what he prescribed me this time was venlafaxine. And the minimum dose of venlafaxine that you're typically supposed to start out on for depression is 75 milligrams. But he broke that in half and he started me out on 37.5 milligrams. And whenever I started taking this, at first I didn't notice anything bad happening. I didn't notice myself feeling sick or anything like that. I did have some of the dizziness still, but I kind of thought that that could still be because maybe some of the Cymbalta was still in my system and I was trying to work it out. But then I started to notice some new stuff that wasn't very fun. With the venlafaxine, as with a lot of antidepressants, it can have an effect on your blood pressure. So I started to notice that if I got nervous or scared, my blood pressure would noticeably raise, specifically in my brain, which was kind of scary. I'll give you the most prominent example in my mind, which is I was sleeping one day, my alarm went off and woke me up. And of course, because I woke up suddenly, I was sort of jolted awake. And I immediately felt like this, heard my heart pump and heard the blood whooshing through my ears up into my brain and felt this explosion of pressure in my brain. I was like, whoa. That's never happened before. That's a little scary. Didn't really think anything of it. Decided just to, try to get to sleep a little earlier so maybe I wouldn't wake up right in the middle of deep sleep, and hopefully I could avoid that happening again. The next day, the same exact thing happened, only this time it was 10 times worse. And the blood whooshed into my head and I felt this explosion of pressure to the point where I actually felt the pressure pushing against my skull, and it felt like my brain was going to explode. And I also, it was bad enough that it gave me a horrible headache instantly, this terrible, horrible headache. And that headache did not go away for a good 10 minutes. And even after it went away and my head didn't really hurt anymore, I still felt like my brain and my head were kind of achy, and I still felt kind of like that sort of foggy weirdness that you can feel sometimes after you're coming off of a headache or a migraine. It was terrifying. And I immediately called my doctor and I said, I can't take this anymore. It's messing with my blood pressure and I'm gonna die. This is bad. I'm gonna have an aneurysm or a stroke. I'm gonna die if I keep taking this. So I stopped taking that, so he had me come in to try a new medicine. So this time he wanted to start me out on something a little newer, a new type of medicine that works a little differently than any antidepressant that's been on the market before. At least that's how he explained it to me. I didn't really look into this one very much and figure out exactly what classification it's under, but the name of it is Vibrid, and it's vilazodone hydrochloride tablets. So I had 2 weeks worth of medicine here, and you can see that you start out with 10 milligrams for one full week, and then you move on to the 20 milligrams the next week. And you can even see I got through the 10 milligrams, and then as soon as I started the 20 milligrams, all broke loose. So as soon as I started taking the 20 milligrams, I noticed the dizziness came back. And it was pretty pronounced. It was pretty bad. And I tried to deal with it and tried to work through it. But then the morning I took the third 20 milligram pill, I started to notice that my gums were bleeding. And And I thought I must have just brushed my teeth a little too hard. But my gums continued to bleed all day long, and my teeth up here started to hurt. And I don't remember exactly how I found out. I think, oh no, I remember now. I remember. Okay, so the whole day my gums had been bleeding, and then I ended up with a really, really intense migraine that night. It was awful. And I know that for a lot of antidepressants, you're not supposed to take any type of NSAID, aspirin, ibuprofen, none of the pain relievers that can thin your blood. And the reason for that is because they can interact. I didn't really know how they interacted though, and I didn't really know why. So I decided to look up whether or not it was safe to take Vibrid with aspirin. And it said, no, you're not supposed to take it. So I was curious. I was like, is this just a mild reaction or interaction that they can have with one another? Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I can just deal with it because this headache is killing me. I have to have something. So I started to look up what could happen, and it said that because this particular antidepressant can thin your blood, and the NSAIDs, or the aspirin and ibuprofen and similar painkillers, can also thin your blood, they can react to cause abnormal bleeding. Abnormal bleeding can include things like bruising for no reason, nosebleeds, and also bloody gums. So at this point, I freak out because I'm realizing I didn't just brush my teeth too hard. It's the freaking medicine. And I'm like, what else is this medicine doing to me? Like I'm just bleeding internally just throughout my whole body. Like, what is going on? Like, is the headache because of the medicine? So I go and I start looking up all of the different signs that you should be actually concerned about and legitimately worried about with taking Vibrid. And one of them included intense thirst or dehydration accompanied with a headache. This stuff had been making me feel thirsty ever since the day I took it. These pills make you thirsty. I'm sorry, that's so inappropriate. I'm such a child. Anyway, I had been feeling really dehydrated ever since starting this medicine, and that day it had been even worse, and that, like, those two combined, the headache plus the dehydration, and then with the bleeding gums on top of it, I started to realize that this medicine was causing some really horrible issues as well, and that once again, I was showing signs of an overdose whenever I had barely even been taking the trial packet starter kit for like 10 days. So I was like, okay, I gotta stop taking this one too. So I call up my doctor, I let him know what's going on, and I tell him I'm terrified. Obviously, my body isn't able to handle this stuff. I should not be on antidepressants. I want to quit. I don't want to take anything now. And he said, okay. He said if I ever wanted to go back, he would still be there for me and he would try to help me. But obviously, my body just can't handle it. My system is way too sensitive for this kind of stuff. So I stopped taking anything at all. And at this point, I'm thinking I'm going to feel better after not taking it because the confusion is going to be gone, the dizziness will be gone, the insomnia will be gone. All of these like illnesses and sicknesses, that side effects that I've been dealing with will be gone, and I'll be able to get back to normal. I didn't realize how high these medicines had taken me, emotionally speaking, mentally speaking. I didn't realize what an enormous boost they had had to my energy and my happiness. I couldn't really pinpoint the change on the medicine because I thought that most of the reason why I was so happy was because therapy was going well. And therapy is going well. Therapy is great. I love my therapist. She is amazing, absolutely incredible woman, great at her job, and she's been helping me tremendously. But that wasn't really the reason why I'd had such a quick turnaround of being really depressed and then really happy. I didn't think that the medicine would help me to be that happy that fast because it's not supposed to. You're not supposed to see a change that quickly. And I hadn't been on one medicine for any prolonged amount of time. I took these medicines for a week each, if that. But collectively it was about a month that I had been medicated, and it did make a huge difference, especially because of the whole hypersensitivity thing. I was getting that boost a lot faster than the average person would, and a lot more than the average person would, especially on such a low dose and so quickly. So whenever I came off the medicine, I didn't notice it right away, but eventually I did kind of go through a withdrawal, and then I crashed. And I crashed hard. And I became even more depressed than I had started out. And it was really difficult. And it hasn't helped that, you know, certain other things have complicated the issues, like allergies and stuff like that. So I haven't felt my best, and it's been difficult to get back to being happy without the medicine, and knowing that I don't have an option for medicine now because my body will reject it. So I haven't made a video for a while because I've just been in my house being depressed and anxious and not wanting to do anything and not really caring. And I finally decided that enough was enough and I couldn't handle it anymore. So I decided to look towards more, I guess, homeopathic remedies for depression, over-the-counter supplements and things like that I can take to help me. And I did find some, and it's early. It's only been 3 days since I've been on it. But again, my system works really fast, so I feel like I notice a difference. And it could be partly my system just moving fast and working with these remedies very quickly, and it could be partly a placebo effect. Honest to God, I don't give a why it's working. It's working, and I'm happy. And I'm happy. What more could I ask for? It's working for one reason or another, and I'm not going to question it, and I don't care. Whatever works, works, and for whatever reason, I don't care. I'm not like, just why look a gift horse in the mouth? Actually, I heard that is a really dumb saying that comes from the Trojan horse, and if they had inspected the gift horse more, then they would have been able to find the soldiers inside, and they would not have been murdered in their sleep after a drunken, crazy celebration party. So actually, maybe you should look a gift horse in the mouth sometimes, but not in this scenario. Anyway, just fun trivia to throw that in there for you and lighten up the mood a bit. since I seem to be Debbie Downer right now. Anyway, yeah, so I want to make another video later on what I have found and what I'm doing now, all of the little natural supplemental remedies that I'm using to feel better. But this video is already way too long, so I'm going to cut this off now. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys understand why I haven't really been around making videos. Honestly, I'm surprised that I was able to keep up with the channel as well as I was during this whole time when I was taking all these medicines and I was incredibly ill. But I think that just having the energy and the boost of mood from the medicines made me want to be on YouTube more and want to make videos despite how bad I felt. And then it's just the depression that kicks you in the butt. It makes you not care about anything, and you don't want to do anything, and you know, you sit there and you feel bad. Like I was sitting there and I felt bad that I wasn't making YouTube videos, and I wanted to make YouTube videos, but then there was this overriding, oh well, just sit here and feel bad because that's easier than having to do stuff. Just do nothing. Just sit here and be sad. So it sucks. It sucks. Depression is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. If you know anybody who is going through it, like, try to find ways to help them get help. Because one of the worst things about depression is that once it really sets in, you don't even care about getting help because it makes you feel like it's easier to do nothing. And really, doing nothing is the hardest thing that you could ever do whenever you have depression, because depression itself makes everything difficult. It makes waking up difficult, taking a shower, getting dressed, brushing your teeth, eating food. It makes everything so difficult. So not doing something about the depression is worse, because life just continues to get harder and harder and harder as you continue to sink further and further and further into depression, and you dig a hole that's so many miles deep you don't even know how to get out of. And you can't even imagine the possibility of getting out of it. So going and getting help is actually the simplest, easiest, best thing that you could possibly do for yourself. To get help and deal with the short-term stress that that's going to bring, but then reap the benefits of the long-term relief that that's going to bring to your life, versus living every single day as if it's a year and dealing with all of the sadness and emptiness and hurt and pain in every single day. That's the worst thing that you could do for yourself. That is the hardest thing that you could ever put yourself through. But if your friend has depression, or if you have depression, understand that if you have depression, I understand that it's hard to go get help. If your friend has depression, understand for them that it's hard for them to go get help. But also know that it's the best thing for them, and try to help them get help so that it's not as scary for them. And if you are the one with depression, find someone who can be that friend for you and have them help you get help. So anyway, that's enough for this video for today. I think I've said everything that I wanted to say. I love you guys. I hope you all have great and wonderful lives, and I hope you all get whatever help or therapy you need for whatever issue you're dealing with, because therapy gets a bad rap, and it's actually a really great thing that can help you a lot. Alright guys, I will see you later.